We are talking about imaginary numbers or lateral numbers, and we want to write each expression as a complex number in standard form. So here we notice that we have an I in the numerator and an I in the denominator, and we want to get that I out of the denominator. And we want to do this the same way that we did to get the radical out of the denominator when we had addition or subtraction. What we want to do is we want to multiply by the conjugate pair. So we're going to multiply by, keep the first term and the last term the same, and change the sign. And then in order to not change the value of this, we need to make sure that our fraction that we're multiplying by is a value of 1. So we want to multiply by 3 over 2i. So I'm going to rewrite this. I'm going to do this multiplication. So we get 5i times 3. 5 times 3 is 15, and then we keep the I. And we say minus 5 times 2 is 10, and I times I is I squared. And then in the denominator, we have to distribute both of these terms to both of these terms. So 3 times 3 is 9, and 3 times negative 2i is negative 6i. Then 2i times 3 is positive 6i, and 2i times negative 2i is negative 4i squared. Now the thing that's really nice about this is we know that I squared is equal to negative 1. And we also know that negative 6i and positive 6i cancel each other out. So then we can rewrite this. We get 15i minus 10 times negative 1 over 9 minus 4 times negative 1. So we can write that down further as 10 or negative 10 times negative 1 becomes positive 10. I'm going to write that first. And then we say plus 15i. Then negative 4 times negative 1 becomes positive 4. And so then we get 13. And we can leave it like this, or what we can do, distribute the 13 to each one of the terms in the numerator, and then we get 10 divided by 13 plus 15 divided by 13i. So either one of those are fine. Next one we can look at is we can look at example F here. And we notice that the difference between E and F is we don't have addition here. We have addition here, we don't have addition here. So what we want to do is we just want to multiply by I over I. We just need to get rid of this I here, so we multiply by I. We don't want to change the value of this fraction, so we need to multiply by 1. In this case, the specific one that we're multiplying by is I over I. So when we multiply, we need to distribute. So we're going to 4 times I is 4i, and negative I times I is negative I squared. And then 5i times I is 5i squared. And then the nice thing about that is we remember that I squared is equal to -1 and I squared is equal to -1. So I can rewrite that. So we get 4I minus a -1 divided by 5 times -1. So we can rewrite this and keep simplifying, and we get negative is positive, so that's +1 plus 4I divided by -5. Now, we don't like the negative in the denominator, so what we want to do is we want to distribute the -5 to both terms in the numerator, and we can rewrite this one last time as -1 over 5 minus 4I over 5. And that is in the simplest form. And we have one last example. And in this case, we see that we have the negative sign in the denominator. So what we want to do is we want to multiply by the conjugate pair. So we leave the first term alone. We leave the second term alone. We change the sign in the middle. And in order to not change the value of the original fraction, we have to make sure we multiply by 1. So when we go ahead and do this multiplication, we have to distribute. So -8 times -3, that is 24. -8 times 9I is -72I. 6I times -3 is -18I. And 6I times 9I is +54I squared. Then we have -3I times -3. That becomes 9. And we have -3 times 9I. That becomes -27I. And then we have -9I times -3. That becomes +27I. And then we have -9I times +9I. That becomes -81I squared. Now, some nice things happen here. -27I and +27I, those cancel each other out. And then our I squared, we remember, is equal to -1, and I squared is equal to -1. So then we can rewrite these two fractions, and we can also combine like terms here in the middle. So we get 24, and then -72I minus 18I is -90I. And then +54 multiplied by -1 is -54. And that's divided by 9. And then we have -81 times -1 becomes +81. And now we have a couple things that we can combine here. So we can rewrite this. And then 24 minus 54 becomes -30. and then we can bring down the negative 90i, and then we have 9 plus 81 is 90. And then the last thing that we can do is we can distribute the 90 to both terms in the numerator. And so we finish with we can rewrite it as negative 30 divided by 90 minus 90i divided by 90. And we know that both of these are divisible by 30, and both of these are divisible by 90. And so we can finish by saying, slide up a little bit, negative 1 over 3, and then 90 divided by 90 cancels itself out, and then is equal to, so that's equal to 1, so minus I.